All right, this is John Krasinski for Pittsburgh Soccer Now here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. With me, Matt Popchuk. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds have opened the season with a 3-0 shutout win at Memphis. The way the match started, maybe it didn't seem like it might go that way, but the Riverhounds really flexed their muscles tonight, earned a 3-0 win. Dane Kelly, in his debut as a Hound, the USL Championship's all-time leading scorer, came through, goal near stoppage time in the first half, and an assist for the second goal. It contributed to Russell Cicerone, and then Albert Dieker picked up a goal late, and also Chase Vosvik, big save, penalty kick save in the first half. A few minutes after that, Memphis gets a red card, and really the Riverhounds were in control most of the match, even up to the point where they gave up the red card. They were in control of the match. And of course, in the second half, playing up a man, completely dominated. This is a very impressive effort, off the heels of our conversation the other day in our prediction shows and our preview shows. This is pretty much what we expected, isn't it, Matt? Or maybe not.
Yeah, it's certainly. Well, funny you should say that, because it's interesting. Even in the Bob Lilly era, opening days and opening nights, opening matches have been kryptonite for the Riverhounds. And a couple years ago, in that weird fricky dicky pandemic year with a short schedule where they went to Louisville to open their stadium and ended up ruining the party, that was an eyebrow raiser at the time. And really, that game, if you look at their season openers the past few years, that was the anomaly. Most of their season openers the past 5 or 6 seasons have been duds. This was ultimately anything but. So I think we should start there. In terms of this team. Sorry, John. I was just going to say, in terms of this team wanting to rewrite the script for this season, and get over some of the hurdles that we had talked about previously.
Yeah, the 3-0 win, impressive on the road in a season opener when another team's going to give it, be out there, and you figure all teams are starting fresh. Now, I will say this: Memphis did have 4 players on their injury report. The Hounds were very healthy. They haven't had anybody on their injury report, so that were out for Memphis. But that being said, there was just, even like I said early in the first half, felt like the Hounds, even though they weren't getting shots on goal, things like that, they were kind of dictating terms. I think the first 15 minutes we saw we saw the Hounds kind of conceding possession a little bit, but yet Memphis had 10 clearances. The Riverhounds had 7 interceptions. So you could see where the pressure was coming, and what the Hounds midfield was able to do is kind of find those, weaknesses when Memphis would give the ball away, that sort of thing. But they weren't quick to transition to try to score. And I think that was probably something that Bob Lilly was frustrated with early in the match. I'm sure when we get his reaction either later tonight or later in the week about this match, I think he would probably say that. But after that, as I mentioned, all the goal scores, everything, Matt, what was your reaction in terms of, Dane Kelly? You brought it up as the new player to watch. He certainly came through tonight in flying colors.
Yeah, he definitely did. And that's one respect, John, in which the sports of soccer and hockey are very similar, in that late goals, late in a period, late in a half, if you will. Late goals are just they're such a bugger. They're great for the team that scores them, and for the team that concedes them, they can be an absolute dagger. And the way the Riverhounds had been pushing in that first half, but on the scoreboard didn't have anything to show for it to that point. For Dixon to make that pass, and for Kelly to be able to handle it in traffic the way that he did, and settle that ball down and get the clean shot on goal, tuck it underneath the keeper, just a really pretty play all around. And that just had to be a kick in the teeth to Memphis. You're so close to getting out of that half 0-0, which I think would have been, to some extent, a victory for them, to make it in the half scoreless. You're so close, and then that happens, and it happens in your own backyard. And Memphis, aside from, playing with 10 men at that point, they just seemed a little off after that happened, and the Riverhounds settled more and more into the match as the second half unfolded. But what a moment for the Great Dane. And it's a cliche to say you couldn't script it any better, but really, I mean, you couldn't. Day one, game one, first night officially, in a Riverhounds uniform, gets the very first goal of the season. It's a monumental goal in just team and league history. What a moment. What a moment for the league. What a moment for the team. And I mean, that's your headline. I don't know if you want to go with Great Dane for the headline or keeping it 100 for the headline, but I think whoever's writing that recap, John, it's going to write itself.
Pretty much. And, we've already used Great Dane when they signed him, but I think we might be using it quite a bit this year, being that the Hounds now have a
right, right.
So yeah, absolutely. And he showed that his ability is just near anywhere in and around and near the box, even with pressure, even with defenders near him. And Alex Dixon, to play that ball, that low kind of accurate ball, precise pinpoint pass, not only once, but twice he gets the assist on the Dikwa goal as well. So again, a lot of things we talked about in our preseason. I forget who mentioned that Dixon would lead the team in assists. I think most people did. That he's the playmaker on that right side. So what the Hounds did today was they came out in a 3-4-1-2. Essentially, they had the three center backs. And by the way, I mentioned this early in the coverage of the game today, but three former Pitt players, all of them starting for the Hounds tonight, including Arturo Ordonez, making the start in the middle between Shane Wheat and Jelani Peters. But again, Robbie Dambro on the left side. Again, this team, I mean, clicking pretty well. There was some adversity too. Arturo Ordonez, questionable call. I know Bob Lilly was definitely objecting to it. In the box, he slid to kind of prevent the shot, to get in the way of the shot. He did make a little bit of contact. I guess that was the call. But Matt, what was your thought on that penalty kick call?
I mean, just to be blunt, I thought the call was chintzy. I mean, I'm at the risk of being sounding provincial, I'm going to be perfectly straight. I thought it was a chintzy call. I think it was. Like you said, I think it was a clear as day case of the defender having positioning and getting there in time. I thought there was a little bit of simulation there on some level, to be honest. And I think Bob had a legitimate beef. To the credit of Chase Vosvik, you just in that moment you feel heartsick for him because it's just such a helpless feeling at times to be a keeper and to have to face a penalty. But he anticipates it well. He doesn't overplay his position,
right,
and he gets just enough of that leg out to make the save. And that,
just enough
as much as
leg.
the Kelly goal, that as much as the Kelly goal was, I think, a backbreaker for Memphis. And you could kind of tell from that point on, okay, you had the feeling, okay, one way or another, this thing's going to end well. It's just a matter of how and when. And sure enough, they get the Kelly goal, and the rest, as they say, is history. But and the thing to me, John, is it's one thing to just shoehorn a bunch of locals into the roster to generate buzz or to sell some tickets. The thing about these guys, and you guys have even more of a read on this than I do. These guys can play.
Oh yeah.
And Bob wouldn't have them out there if they couldn't. That's not how Bob rolls. So it's a pretty neat thing for the Hounds to be able to flaunt that and to be able to flaunt these guys, these local guys with the Pitt ties, like you said, who can contribute and who showed like they showed tonight that they're going to be a presence out there.
Well, Ordonez, and I mean, think about it. There was, for all the talk about the Riverhounds bringing all these players back, right? For having 9 or 10, really, they had 11, players coming back. There were a few attrition things that happened, but they end up starting a bunch of rookie, first-year guys tonight. Mark Ybarra starts in the holding midfield alongside Danny Griffin and with Canardo up higher. And we know that Mark Ybarra is a playmaking midfielder, a good decision maker, and playing alongside Danny Griffin and Canardo in the middle. There was a lot of talk about Danny Rivera and how well he's played in the preseason and how he's matured as a player. And he's sort of a Swiss Army knife type player. And I still think he is. He's going to be a very valuable piece of this team. But Ybarra to get the start, there's that. You got Ordonez as well, and then Chase Vosvik. So Bob, he's not afraid to go with the guy that's playing well that week in training, and that today is a perfect example of that. And I wasn't totally surprised. I talked about this in our preseason, show that remember he put Thomas Vankiazil out there in Memphis in front of 25,000 people. So that he's done it before, he'll do it again. He sees something in players that sometimes other people don't even see, that fit his system, and I think that's interesting. Now, I didn't see a whole lot from Ybarra. I think he was a little bit more kind of in a defensive spot, where Danny Griffin I thought was a little bit more aggressive tonight, maybe challenging, taking interceptions away. Very curious to see what the statistics look like tonight after we break things down. And of course, Pittsburgh soccer fans could look forward to my first player grades and analysis. So I'll probably be handing those out some point tomorrow or late tomorrow night, or at the latest Monday. But there'll be a post an analysis of this team's performance. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Matt, on some of these younger players getting a start and just the overall performance, especially the midfield? I thought they were really in control.
Yeah, and thinking back to something that you said, a really good point that I thought you made in the preseason prediction show. There have been times in the past when Bob Lilly hasn't trusted his depth guys for one reason or another, and that's come back to haunt him and or the team. Well, look at all the names, to your point a minute ago. Look at all the names that are going to be on the participation sheet after this one. Look at all the names that, especially toward the last 20 minutes, after that second and third goal, the Riverhounds started to take control. Look at all the guys he was able to get in and out of there and get minutes tonight. That also tells me that maybe things are going to be different this year. Maybe this time he feels a little bit better, rotating and putting guys out there. And so that's certainly something positive that might not get talked about much, but certainly something positive I would take away from the way this game wound down, or unwound, if you will, in the second half.
Yeah, so the subs that came in, we saw Nathan Dos Santos, Toby Sims making their debuts with the Hounds as well. Albert Dikwa got in there. We knew going in that this was going to be an Albert Dikwa, Dane Kelly target forward combination, kind of probably sharing minutes a lot this year. Tonight, obviously, Kelly gets to start, gets his 100th goal, the all-time leading scorer in the USL Championship, as we talked about. Then also coming off the bench for the Hounds, Mikael Williams, again, obviously it can be a starter with this group, but impressive to see Arturo Ordonez get the nod over him there. And then Angelo Kelly, another guy who played a lot of minutes in Charleston last year, came in kind of late match. And, a guy like that late in a match, kind of a defensive midfielder, is good to have out there. Just another guy out there who can, really make things difficult for their opponent, trying to work their way, play the ball get forward and create goal scoring opportunities when trailing. So the Hounds holding a lead, I think that's always an impressive thing, to be able to play the way they did. And honestly, Matt, they really didn't take the foot off the gas tonight.
No, and even more so, I think in the second half, I think, I really like the way that after the Kelly goal, it really felt like they locked the game down. And not to completely denigrate the competition, I did feel that there were times when Memphis made some pushes, they made some plays. There were some moments where they had Pittsburgh in a little bit of disarray, and I'm sure those are some of the things that Bob's going to talk about and work on in training as they get ready for that first home match against Hartford. I chalk that up to typical week one bumps in the road. I mean, none of these, 30 some teams are going to come out sharp as tacks in that first match for all 90 minutes. But yeah, I would definitely agree, just to more directly answer the question, that this was more of a flex, as the kids say, by the Riverhounds as the game got later and later, and we saw more the scary team that we saw in the preseason, the team that was able to, like I said, lock down games, and when it wanted to, impose its will offensively on its opponent. And how about Dequa coming in and getting that goal, not just to see Cicerone get on the score sheet in the second half, so he's not as snake bit anymore as he was toward the end of last year, but Dequa is the guy I wanted so badly to do well last year, and it just didn't happen. How big is that to see him get off the schneid and finally get one? And it was a pretty one. That was a nice little roof job late in the second half.
Well done.
Just a nice little exclamation point.
I like that he took that extra touch, played the ball a little bit in front of him, and found that room to just slide it in there with a defender, in between him and the goal. He did just enough to create that space. Very impressive, Albert Dequa. And I think, to your point, I think if he's healthy, and I don't think he was 100% last year, even if he came back late in the season, he just wasn't the same. And competing and playing with Dane Kelly up top, I think that makes for a very interesting combination. I think a good, strong combination. And obviously Cicerone, Bob chose to go with the 3-4-1 Canardo Forbes, and then the two, the Kelly Cicerone combination, which, you could beat you two different ways, and Cicerone's is kind of right place, the right time tonight on the back post. Of course, Kelly, fantastic idea. They go near post on the cross, and Kelly out jumps everybody. And there's Cicerone on the back post. Was not a great goal.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel that the team didn't necessarily do enough of last year, was scoring set piece goals. They were very good at generating set piece opportunities throughout 2021. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I apologize, but
you're right on. Especially just part of the year, they were not scoring at all.
Yeah, they didn't finish nearly enough of those opportunities, and that was big to get something off the set piece there. And again, Russ, just the way he celebrated that goal, he looked like a guy that looked like a very liberated player, and a guy who had a little bit of a monkey off his back, because you see he hits the woodwork in the first half, and then a few minutes later he heads one right over the bar, and you're thinking, oh man, here we go again. This guy's having the same hard luck that he was the last month or two of the last season, where he just did the blankety blank ball just doesn't want to go in. But really nice to see him get that one. And I picked that guy as the leading 2022 goal scorer in our prediction show for a reason, because he can, he has the soccer sense. He knows where to be. He knows where to be to make that kind of play. And nice little finish there at the side post to help Pittsburgh salt the game away.
Yeah, and he doesn't stop. Maybe he comes close a few times, but his engine keeps going, and it's one of the things Bob talks a lot about when he talked about Russell. Just that nonstop, intangible. He just works. He outworks everybody, and so that's something that I think really brings to the table.
And I would just add quickly that like on to the point of that shot that went off the bar. Like, I love that. I want to see more of that, John, as the season. Like, that's another thing that I think last year this team didn't do nearly enough of, was trust its own organic offensive skill set. Take more of those chances, shoot more from distance. And that was a beauty of a strike from Cicerone. And again, he just didn't, an inch the other way, it goes in. You keep doing that, eventually those shots are going to fall. They are going to start going in, and we are going to see this guy, rack up those goal totals even more. So I like seeing him take that chance, and I'll give him that shot any day or night.
All right, a couple quick things, parting shots before we go. Your impression of the new kit with the 84 Lumber logo for the road matches and going with white and then yellow or a gold, you know, below, like shorts and kit. I'm not really, but it was just, it threw me off for a second. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? It just threw me off for a second. What were your impressions?
You know, it actually, yeah, it actually wasn't a bad look. I thought it was a
I
nice,
like it.
clean, professional looking road uniform. And I know people, you know, we make fun of, you know, like the MLS road kits for being too white, you know, at times. But yeah, I thought it was a very clean look. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned kits, because I was thinking before the match tonight. I had said during the sound off show, the prediction show, we were talking about favorite kits. I mentioned purple as being like a very
Yeah.
strong soccer kit color and an underrated sport uniform color in general. I lied. There is one purple kit that I am not a fan of. It is the Seattle Sounders Jimi Hendrix kit. And I know that might be an unpopular opinion. I have no idea why they decided to make that any more than a one-off. The Sounders should be green and blue.
Yeah.
That's the law. I don't make the law. I don't
It's weird
get why
when
they
you
continue
see,
to go
like,
back
when
to
you
that.
see the EPL teams wearing like some way off color that's not in their like their traditional jerseys. It always throws me off, but
Right,
kind of like
right,
the same effect. Yeah. All right. So
right.
before we go, I'd like to do this every time we do a reaction show, but your man of the match, I think you kind of already stated that, but I'll go with your man. Who's your man of the match?
Well, I just think for the significance of the moment, we got to give it to Dane Kelly. We got to give it to him. I mean, first game, first goal, 100th goal, watershed moment for him, for the organization, for the league. You know, a rare offensive milestone being achieved there in Memphis tonight. What a great first impression Dane Kelly makes in his first game as a Riverhound.
I wouldn't disagree at all. He would definitely be my man of the match, but I would like a quick special shout out. I think Chase Vosvik's PK save. You know, when
Yes.
you pick a keeper and he gets tested in the first half of the first game of his professional career, and he comes up with a PK save. I mean, that's some big time stuff. And hopefully for Riverhounds fans' sake, for the Hounds, is, you know, whenever they get put in those pickles, that they've got a guy that can come up with, at least has the confidence and ability to make a big play like that. So I will definitely, hats off to Chase Vosvik. Hats off to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds tonight. A 3-0 win over Memphis 901 FC. Impressive road win. This is our first reaction show. We're going to be doing this all season long. This is Matt. It was really great to have you on tonight. The Riverhounds are starting the season off very impressively. I think we're going to see some. I think this is an indication of what we should expect. What this team's going to be like this year.
Yeah, and again, I think, if I'm reading tea leaves, if I'm predicting what Bob is going to say after this one and this week in training, I think he's going to say, happy with the 3 points, happy overall with the effort. Still some things to clean up, and we got to be able to come out with that same hair on fire urgency against Hartford, because they're a team that always plays Pittsburgh tough wherever they hook up, and that's going to be another real strong test for the home opener.
No doubt about it. Hartford, every match will be tough, a challenge, and I think the biggest thing is if they could do what they, the first half, the first 15-20 minutes, if they could make statements, really put teams on their heels with the talent that they showed, with the ability that they showed in this match. They eventually wore Memphis down early in the match. I think that's what I think he's going to want them to lay the hammer down early and often and play with urgency. As I remember, early last year when things weren't going well, Bob Lilly was very upset with the fact that they didn't play with any sense of urgency. This is a team that's motivated. This is a team that doesn't want to lose a season the way they've lost it the last few years. So I think this, just like I said, a great way to set the tone for what will be a very long season, but a great way to set the tone. So Matt, we'll sign off now, but thanks again for joining us here, Pittsburgh Sports Live. for Pittsburgh Soccer Now. We're going to have plenty of coverage to wrap this one up, and get ready for the home opener Saturday, Hartford, 7 p.m.